You're not going to give your monologue this week?
Nope.
I made sure the microphones were on with Spencer. I even waited. I gapped you and everything, but all right.
We're
Welcome to
so
the program.
courteous. Welcome indeed.
That's all you got.
That's it.
All right, welcome to show 202, everybody. This is Adam and Clint, as we are weekly. Having fun. I say weekly because we just decided before we came on, due to some scheduling issues with our real jobs, we will be Sunday next week. It'll re-air Tuesday at the right time, right, Spencer? For those who can't participate live with us on Sunday evening, we will re-air it on Tuesday in its regular time slot. So it may or may not be Memorex when you see us next week, depending on when you catch up to us. But we appreciate you being here. We got Trayon Laich on the show, Adam, fresh off the Snowball Derby. We tried to get Kyle Steckley, but they're still in transit, we believe, or whatever the situation is. What do you know?
That's horrible. You make it sound like we didn't really. You tried to get Kyle Stackley, but
Well,
you're settling
hold on.
for
That was a bad lead up. We tried. You talked to Kyle
just
Steckley.
raced. Yeah.
So I wasn't sure what the real deal was. Yeah, I wasn't sure whether they were in transit. I assume they were traveling home today, and that's why he couldn't make it. We will have Trayon on to talk about the Snowball Derby, what it means to be there, his run, and, of course, his plans for 2024. The kind of exit Twitter message kind of left a lot of things hanging this week and got some folks talking. So we'll talk to Trayon about what his plans are. The other one we're going to have on the show is Nelson Mason. We tried to get Nelson on last week. Nelson is now a dirt sportsman racer in the Niagara region, but race some formula stuff, open wheel cars. We'll get the full gist, and I don't want to say the wrong class and insult anybody, but Nelson Mason is going to join us and bring us up to speed on why he left Europe and came back to dirt sportsman at home, which is an interesting story. We'll talk about that. We've got a string of Burger Barn videos of the week. We'll talk a bit about SRX, World of Outlaw High Limit Canada, because it seems to be an ongoing topic, and every week we have more kind of, I don't know, more sticks to hit the dead horse with, I guess, but we'll keep going with it. And schedules are out. We'll talk about everybody seems to be in a race and a few other things. What you got, Adam?
Yeah, I think the schedules are going to be a fun conversation in that what's the rush? Why get them out this early? What's the advantage to waiting? Because there's always multiple sides to every story. And nothing that's been bothering me since I actually get up in the chat, Pavement Hour Road. I think that's usually the conversation. We're not about pavement, we're not about dirt. We're just about whatever is the story. And whatever's the story, we try to have a balance, but you're not our kids. We don't have to love you each equally. We can give one more time than another 1 week, and we'll sort it out the next week. But that just stuck out in my mind.
There are a lot of great stories. Like you said, some weeks tend to be more dirt or more pavement heavy, not by intention, just by the way it tends to organically flow, and by the people who kind of flow in and out of our week. You know, those are the stories we end up following, and if you come across our feed and have a good story, hey, we'll reach out to you and get you on here. Trayon should be joining us any moment now. We'll get going to that. Adam, Snowball Derby, a big event in the States. A lot of people spent a lot of money to get there. Half of our Canadian crew did very well. Trayon obviously was running in the top 10-ish when he got involved in a big one. And then we had, Kyle Steckley ran fabulous with a shot to win yesterday in the rained-out Snowflake 100. I mean, Glenn was down there. Noggles were down there. Butcher was down there. They didn't quite have the great runs.
I'm glad you brought them up. Canada is actually quite well represented. Noggles and Butchers, they race a lot up and down the eastern seaboard. Lapsevich and Steckley, not so much. They're more focused up north, although Steckley ran Nashville there, whatever it was, last month or whenever that was. But Canada's got a lot of young talent that it should be pretty proud of.
Yeah, I see Trayon is ready to join us now. We'll bring him on and get talking. I'm sure he spends a lot of time on these types of calls. We don't want to take him any more than we can. So, Trayon, welcome to the program once again. Regular here, but as you keep making headlines, you have to keep talking to clowns like us. So congrats, or sorry about your luck. Not sure where we're headed, but either way, we appreciate your time today. What a run at the Snowball, man.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and well, it lasted anyways. I'm still really proud of the effort that we made, and yeah, just tough luck there. Not really much we could do.
No, Trayton, is that inevitable in those races? Like we see a lot of stacked up race cars in some of the late model and super late model specials. Um, eh, while you're executing the race, are you ever thinking about cars maybe you don't want to be around?
Yeah, I mean, at that point in the race, it's almost inevitable. Something's going to happen. You just kind of don't know where. My plan going into the race was kind of to try and stay in that top 15 because a lot of things will usually happen kind of in the back half of the field. But yeah, I thought we put ourselves in the best position that we could at the time. Not really banking on someone to miss a shift like that and just kind of having nowhere to go. But no, always on your toes on a late race restart like that, especially with how the race was going. We had a lot of green flag runs. Started off with a little bit of cautions, but it always seems like the Derby, when it comes to the last 20 or 25 laps, it can kind of be anyone's game.
Trayton, why the Snowball Derby? I guess for some of the race fans around here, maybe who don't know the prestige of the event, why do so many of our racers here in Canada make a significant investment in time, effort, and money to go compete there?
I mean, I think the snowball derby. There's really no bigger race on the short track side of things. We were really proud because we were able to go there with our own team and compete against these guys that have been doing that all year, and much bigger teams on a larger scale too. I mean, there's guys there with 7, 8 cars across the two divisions, the pro lates and the super lates that being. So yeah, I mean, it's a huge race. It's very prestigious. It's got a lot of history behind it as well. A lot of stars have really been born at the Snowball Derby, and some of them still racing in it just this past year too. So, no, there's nothing bigger than it. For us, we figured that there was no better time to go do it. I mean, we had a great year here in Canada. Kind of the opportunity was able to come together to go down there. So, figured we'd make a run at it.
We actually had a really good question come in from Steve Shaw, who's viewing. Trey, did you go down with 100% your package, or did you rent shocks down there? Like, I know it's popular to kind of mix and match and put together the best package that you can, or did you guys set your package up north and go race with it?
Well, I think we definitely set ourselves up with the best of the best to go down there. There's stuff down there that you can run, which you can't necessarily run here in Canada, in the APC side of things specifically, such as shocks. You're allowed better shocks in the States. You're allowed better transmission. You're allowed a different drive shaft, different rear end snouts. So it's stuff like that we had to change in order to compete down there. But the car itself, it was basically an identical WMI chassis to the one that we ran the APC series with in 2021 and a little bit in 2022. So all that stuff's the same, all the suspension, chassis, stuff like that. It's those things that they allow in the States that we don't have here. We had to change to compete.
Trayton, when you look at that, how tough it is down there and how quickly you guys caught on. You know, how big of a role is Junior Hanley playing in your program? We see him hanging around a lot. Is he one of the guys that's home here building this car with you guys and really helping you guys get set up for an event like this?
Well, we were actually talking about that. We really didn't know where we'd be if Junior Hanley didn't come help us out. I mean, I think it was 8 or 9 days straight he was at our shop. So the knowledge that this guy has and the efficiency that he works with, I mean, it's hard for me to keep up with him. And I'm many years younger than Junior, but it's really, we probably couldn't have done it without Junior. He was such a big help, and we're really thankful for that to have a guy like him helping us to go down there. He showed a lot of passion to help us and be there in the shop with us. There was a couple nights we had to kick him out of the shop because we were ready to go home. We were so exhausted, but no, he's definitely still a hard worker. It's crazy.
Now, did he go with you to Florida?
No, he didn't. We were trying. It's just it's too far for him to go, but we made sure to keep him informed on what's going on.
Because I would imagine he would make like just him showing up to that event would make a huge splash down there because there's still a lot of people who are aware of how how smart, innovative. I mean, they talked about Gary Ballou, the fast time he set in the early 80s, and I believe that was in a Hanley chassis, that car. Correct me if I'm wrong, Trayon. You might know better than I do, but I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, there was a lot of people down there, like those that were from the States, that were asking about Junior, stuff they'd seen on the internet when I was posting on Twitter and stuff like that, with Junior helping us build the car. So he's definitely still really well known down there in the States for sure.
Trayon, let's switch gears a bit. Your Twitter post, or X post, I guess it would be, as you're leaving the event, says, you're not sure where you're going to be in 2024. There was also a post that came out that said you probably weren't going to be back in the Pinty Series and just race down in the States. What do you know for sure about 2024 and your racing plans?
There's really nothing for certain right now. Kind of anything's up in the air. I really, I'll get in about any car that I can get behind the wheel of. So for me, I'm not too picky. Like I said in the X post, it's just nothing's kind of for certain right now. We don't have any plans for sure. There's a lot of things up in the air, but obviously the big thing's funding, which we've struggled with like the last 3 years here for the Pinty Series. So just trying to figure out all the stuff like that and see where we can end up come 2024.
What would be the next event, Trayon, on your bucket list? Like, as far as things that you want to tackle, things that you want to run, what would be next up if you had all the budget in the world to go and do it?
I mean, I feel like Speed Weeks, it maybe isn't as popular as it once was, but for myself, I think it would still be really cool to go to. Especially if we had an unlimited budget, like you said. It's obviously not a cheap place to go for a whole week of racing, but it's definitely something I'd like to do. A full week of racing, for me, that would almost be a dream come true. So, if the budget was there, that would definitely be where we'd go with this car next.
So, Trayon, I'm going to dig back in you a bit harder here. Where do you want to be in 24, I guess, is the question. Is the Pinty something that you would work? I mean, obviously you have to work to fund the funding. So is it safe to say you're trying to find funding to come back to Pinty's? Are you trying to find funding to race in the States? If you get a big sponsor today, where are you telling them you're going?
I think the focus right now is to try and get somewhere in the States. That's kind of where we're trying to go towards. The season that we had in Pinty's this year, it's hard to go back on that. We won the championship. We won all these races, and I think it's right now we're definitely headed towards the States. That's the goal. I'm very lucky to have partners here in Canada. So if it comes together that we run Pinty's again, that'll be completely fine with me.
What's your brother up to?
Caden is a crew chief at Venturini.
And that's ongoing for next year. He's good. Does that give you any opportunities or any foot in the door, or is it still about dollars?
It's still all about dollars, but I guess the good part about it is he's got those connections there. So if I were to have the funding to go ARCA racing, kind of we're already 1 foot in the door with Venturini. So that's good in itself. I would say so, but it's still all about dollars for sure.
Is that something you would do? Trayon, obviously, like you said, you race anything, but is that something that you would put effort into to put a package together? Is that a smart next step for Trayon Laich in your mind?
I think it's probably another step. Here in Canada, it's kind of, the Pinty Series is just so competitive, and I don't think that the Pinty Series gets the respect or the acknowledgement that it deserves, especially south of the border. For us, we may see the Pinty Series as higher competition than ARCA, but in the sense of the acknowledgement that you can receive from ARCA, it's probably a little higher up on the list. So I would call it a next step in that sense. I feel like just in ARCA, there's a lot more manufacturer support. The sponsors are there. The teams are there. Joe Gibbs is now involved in ARCA and Venturini, and so you got Toyota and Chevy as well. So the recognition's there, and that's why I see it as a possible next step. But Yeah, I don't really think that ARCA generally presents higher competitiveness than Pinty's does.
How does it feel to you, Trayton? I mean, I know that you race for yourself and for your family, but you going down there, Kyle Steckley going down there, is basically representative of a lot of short track racers up here. And for them to see you go down there and be as competitive as you were, and Kyle Steckley to be as competitive as he was, what does that say about the quality of the minds that are up here in Ontario racing? And not to mention the drivers. Obviously, you're a first class driver, but you still need the crew, the equipment, and I'm not sure if people would have assumed that that would be something we could do, is go down and one of our guys race with the best of the best of the best.
I think it says a lot about the competition that we have here in Canada. I mean, you don't really know until you know. And, I think how myself and Kyle ran this weekend was kind of the big eye opening for those in the States to kind of see what we had here. I mean, there's no doubt for us that the competition in the Pinty series and in the APC series is really high. But for us to go down there and compete with the best of them, I think it's definitely an eye opener. It kind of shows what we can do here. I think that being said, you'll see a lot more guys from Canada go down there in the future, which I think is really good for the sport as a whole and us as Canadians.
How would you describe your relationship with Kyle Steckley? You guys tend to be in a lot of the same headlines and in the same news stories the past year, and probably will be in the future. How do you get along with him?
Absolutely. It's been great working with Scott, Kyle, and the whole 22 racing team. I've been really lucky to drive for them the past 3 years and kind of build that relationship with Scott and Kyle and everyone over there. So even though we weren't necessarily racing for the same team this past weekend at Five Flags, we were still there to lean on each other and talk about the track as a whole and talk about that sort of stuff. So it's really cool. I think that we kind of always have each other to lean on. And I think we're going to be racing against each other for a really long time. So it's definitely good to build that relationship early.
Yeah, we hope to see it for a long time. Trayton, it looked to me watching the race as though if anyone overdrove their car for, if you ran 5 or 6 laps hard, it looked like cars would fall off in a heartbeat. How hard are you driving those cars lap after lap? Like, do you really have to hold back on them? How easy is it to burn your stuff up in that race?
Well, the track itself, the surface is really abrasive, so it really just rips apart these tires. We saw it in practice that we would take off tires that were 20 or 25 laps old, and they would basically be ripped apart already. So in the race, it was my first time in the super late model, so I didn't really have a great idea of how the car was going to handle on a long run. So the first 75 lapper, I definitely used a lot more of the car up than it was giving me. I kind of felt that at the end of the run, I started to fall back a little bit, but it seemed actually the easier that I started to drive the car, the better the car really was. It was almost a slower and smoother was faster sort of deal. So just not a lot of grip out there. You can't really spin the rear tires. It was really easy to take advantage of mistakes of others. That was kind of the main way that we were passing. Guys would get really loose up off the corner, and you kind of be able to make a move and get around them.
Trayton, when's your next race, and how you spending the off time?
Well, right now I'm iRacing. I didn't do a lot of iRacing the last month or so, just getting the car ready. We're in the shop every night, so I'm doing some iRacing right now. We'll probably be doing some snowboarding this off season, and then hopefully back in the car pretty early in the new year.
And going to the most prestigious business school in Canada in the midst of all this.
That's right too. It's exam season right now, so preparing for exams during the day as well.
Yeah, how many iRacing exams do you have at university?
What's that? Sorry.
How many iRacing exams do you have?
Oh, not enough, unfortunately.
Right on. Trayton, thanks for coming to visit with us. I know it's been a whirlwind. You know what? Actually, we're not done with you. Talk about the NASCAR banquet.
It was really cool. Nashville was a cool city. I'm not 21, so I definitely couldn't enjoy it as much as others. But the NASCAR banquet was really cool to have all the international series there. Kind of get to talk with all the other international champions, and then also be up on there on the big stage to accept the award and the ring as well.
We had some conversation of people saying the NASCAR Canada banquet should be in Canada. That's where it belongs. With you having gone down there and been with all the international champions, what would your opinion be on that? Should the banquet be up here to enjoy with the people that you competed with, or is it more special to be down there with all of the international champions and represent your series there?
You know what? I'm not really sure what the right answer is to that. I think maybe the best answer would there be multiple banquets. I'm not sure. I think part of it definitely has to be with the rest of the NASCAR champions south of the border. If you think about it, there's guys coming from a lot further than we were. So there's some guys there from Brazil, Mexico, and in Europe as well. So it's really cool, and I think we're talking about Canadians making a bigger splash in the States. The NASCAR banquet's just a really good opportunity that kind of brings everyone in the industry together. So you're down there, and pretty much everyone who's someone in the NASCAR world is there. So it's a good opportunity to talk to people and maybe make a bigger splash in the States.
Right on. Well, Trey, congratulations, man. We appreciate all your time this year. What a great season it's been, and we likely won't talk to you until the new year now.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Have a great night.
NASCAR Pinty Series champion Trayon Laich. Appreciate his time. It's been a great season. I saw today the NASCAR Pinty Series year in review comes out Friday and Saturday this weekend on TSN. So if you're here in Canada, make sure you check that out. You'll hear a lot of Adam Ross, I'm sure. And I think I could squeeze a line or two in there somewhere.
Yeah, not too much, because Dave Moody usually does the voiceover. That's tradition. Joel's pretty good, though. You know what I mean? It's Joel Robinson, of course, who's the maestro of everything. He works hard to make sure that we all get in there. You know what I mean? Like find a clip where we can show this, find a clip where we can show this, and he doesn't have to. Like, he doesn't owe that to me. He doesn't owe that to you. It's a year in review. Show the best of the best. But I think he's kind of proud of us. You know what I mean? So he tries to make sure that we all get a little bit of the action.
No, it's great. You'll typically hear you and I freaking out about finishes or something on that. So let's bring in our next guest. Nelson Mason's going to join us from the Niagara region here in Ontario. Nelson, welcome to the program. Your first time here on Race Rivalz. We appreciate you joining us. How are you doing tonight, sir? Okay, we got him muted. Might have to click you on mute there. There, we got you, Nelson. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, guys. How are you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for coming in.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure completely.
Nelson, how the heck do you wind up going from racing in Europe, the fanciest circuits in the world, to running Ransomville, Merrittville Speedway in dirt sportsman cars?
Well, it's a lot easier to go racing when you sponsor yourself. And, I think sponsorship is what kind of makes the racing world go round. I had a great career over there in Europe, but, eventually once you're, kind of on the wrong side of 30 and you're racing in World Series, which would be known as Formula 2, the options kind of disappear. And after a long haul and a long stint in Europe, it was kind of time to come home and change the sights and change what I wanted my career to be.
Spencer, show those pictures of the open wheel formula cars. So Nelson, explain to us what these cars are and how long did you race them? How did you get involved in something like this?
Yeah, so that's a Formula 3 car. And I did realistically one full season in Formula 3. That was European Formula 3. We won the Winter Series championship, finished third in the overall championship. So that was a big deal. That was like my first ever, let's say, time in an F3 car. And but massively, massively competitive. Like it's really tough to. It's kind of like if everybody, every country raced a dirt car sportsman, and then you face off for one 10 race championship. It's pretty cutthroat, as I'm sure you can imagine. And then after that, I had graduated, kind of like any form of racing. Let's say that it's pretty convoluted once you get to the top categories, because everybody wants to make a championship and everybody wants to make some money. So yeah, I kind of bounced around a little bit after F3, and eventually found myself in World Series, which is, let's say, the feeder to Formula One. It's now called Formula Two, but that's where like Alonso and Vettel and all those guys came from. So pretty heavy duty, but as you know, obviously stoked to be there.
So how did you settle on dirt sportsman racing when you decided what you wanted to race closer to home?
Well, we were, to be honest, we were kind of talking to some IndyCar teams and Indy Lights teams, trying to, find or get a foot in the door on the North American scene, and did some GT racing, but really just stepped away and wanted to make a new plan. And I work here at Audi Niagara, and Taylor van der Zanden started working here at Audi Niagara as well. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I race." And I was like, "Okay, like, what do you race? Like, you race Honda Civics at Cayuga. Like, I don't need to hear about it." And but he raced Sportsman, so I was like, "Yeah, I'll check this out." And just an honestly like a salt of the earth guy, and he kind of rekindled my, let's say, the opportunities that were there. And we started talking, and we were like, I think we can probably put together two cars and put a race team together. And he started me off in the dirt world at the Eve of Destruction in Humberstone. So that was as, as rags to riches, riches to rags as you can get. So, but it was a great thing. And like I say, awesome dude and awesome family, the van der Zanden. So they really gave us an opportunity to, get a car at their shop and, kind of put this Mace Race team together. And yeah, and it was Sportsman straight away. I figured, we got to be able to figure it out a little bit. I didn't expect to, win straight away. And I think our results after our win showed that, that was probably a little bit premature. But yeah, no, it's been fantastic from there. And we're just trying to build on that as much as we can.
Yeah, I think that was probably the first night I ever saw you. Was I happened to be there on an off Saturday at Merrittville, because that's where, I grew up for 20 years, and I came back and I'm like, who's this guy who's beating Rouse and JMF and Cody and these guys? Because that's not an easy feat. So you turned my head right away, and that's how we got it. And then when I found you with the Van Zans, well, I mean, my family and Dave and Harry go way back, so you're definitely some good, solid people there who aren't going to steer you wrong. What does the future hold for you, Nelson? You talked about maybe Indy Lights. That ship sailed. Obviously, if you've done what you've done in the past, you can't be totally satisfied with a dirt sportsman. What does the future hold for you?
Well, I mean, I'm always open to road course racing, of course, because that's a big fuel of my passion. But it has to be kind of in the right setting and things like that. And it's something, it's a little bit like beating a dead horse. I achieved quite a bit in it, and I'm very happy with how my career went there. And, you guys know better than anyone, but sprint cars are absolutely friggin' attractive. Like they're the coolest cars on the planet. And, and I rate the drivers so highly. I just hope one day that, we can get there. And I think moving into 2024, we're still going to run the two cars, and we're still going to, keep them in modified unless some opportunities do present themselves in sprint cars. But so I think I'll have one in modified, one in sportsman. I think we're going to try to move the 35 car up. But, anything I can do to get myself into a winged sprint would be pretty cool too. And if Glenn needs to run me at the Chili Bowl, I mean, I'm open for a call.
was
Spencer,
well
run the
played.
sportsman cars. I just want to show off this sportsman car for those dirt fans who may not put a face to Nelson. This is the car he's running. Nelson, you had a good campaign. Sorry, Adam, cut you off, but I just want to talk a bit about Super Dirt Week. You had a good run down at Dirt Week. You had a good run. You won at the World Short Track Championships in Charlotte. So you have spent some time out on the road. I think, your first foray into Dirt Week. How did that go?
Yeah, I mean, it went as good as to be expected. Like we with qualifying at Super Dirt Week, I think it's pretty tricky with Oswego because you kind of do like 4 or 5 cars will time trial at once, and as the track goes, it's either getting slower or it's getting quicker. It's never constant, and so we ran pretty early on. I think we were just before halfway, and I think we went second quickest at the time, and we were really strong. I was super stoked with it. It looked like we were going to make it into the show, and that was the biggest thing. The last 10 or 12 cars that ran, they all went way quicker. The track rubbered up, and with Oswego and the Sportsman's, I mean, it's pretty tough to pass, but we started 15th, so we were, again, just stoked, and I was really going for a top 15. And the morning of the race, let's say the actual race, after all the rainouts, all of the shocks got stolen off the car overnight. So we still use an open trailer that's borrowed from the Van der Zandens and has been welded together by Dave 8 or 9 times now this year. But yeah, so we still run an open trailer, and just because we're trying to put all the budget into the race cars and into that bright yellow wrap, and yeah, so we had no shocks, and fortunately McPherson lent us some. Unfortunately, they were all the wrong spring rates, and it was what it was. So we made a run of it. We finished 9th, and again, super happy with the top 10 there. I think we had a top 5 car, so it was a little bit disappointing for that because everyone, all the partners, my father and the Van der Zandens, like everybody's, and all the crew guys, like, the countless hours that you're out in the cold rain, for that to kind of, let's say, end your week or decide your fate a little bit was a little bit disappointing. But at the same point, we made the show and we made the top 10, and that was, we had to be happy with all of that. And then that inspired us to go down to Charlotte because we felt there was a little bit of unfinished business.
And how happy were you when you went down there and you wind up holding the checkered flag? That had to feel all right.
Yeah, I mean, there was some definite curse words that were being said after I crossed the finish line. And it was just my father and I that were there that day. We had a crew guy, Wayne, come the next day, but it was just. I wanted to do Charlotte. Honestly, I wanted to do Charlotte as soon as I started in Sportsman, and I discovered it. Charlotte was our home go-kart track when I started racing go-karts back when I was like 7 or 8. And, because we raced in kind of like a world championship that toured around, or a North American championship that toured around the U.S., Charlotte was our home base. Like, it was 8 hours away, 9 hours away. And so that was the closest track. And so we always had the North American Karting Championships at this time of the year, like in Halloween every year. So it was a little bit of a throwback for that. And, my mother would always take us to all these crazy things in Charlotte, all these cool things to do. And she passed in 2020. So it was a good throwback for my father and I to be there and win the big one, because for whatever reason, I was a failure and never won the North American Karting Championships. So to win the World Short Track there was pretty awesome, and he was stoked. I thought he was going to throw out a hip. So, we'll take it, and we've got the trophy, which is the big thing.
Well, Nelson, we appreciate your time. Adam, anything else you want to talk to him about?
No, it's been fun chatting with you. And I really enjoy the fact that you've raced in Europe against world-class competition, but you can tell that story at the same time as telling the story about being here and racing at Merrittville, Ransomville, or Oswego, or Charlotte. I mean, I love motorsports. It's just all about competing with the best of whoever will show up and race. I'm not doing a very good job of putting it into words. I just love that someone can tell a story about racing on a world-class scale and then coming back here and racing at a smaller scale, but a win is a win and it's still a big deal.
No, you're exactly right. Like, you go from racing guys, like I raced like Carlos Sainz in Formula 3, and you race guys like that. And then, I think at us weekend when I was racing Rouse, you said, that's the guy that'll park his car on your carburetor. Like it's, let's say, two different schools of thought of how to go about a race strategy. But at the end of the day, talent is talent. And, I was never pessimistic about what the talent would be in sort of the dirt oval scene. I was expecting it to be extremely competitive, and I wasn't disappointed at all. And that's really what I'm in it for. Like, yeah, I want to race the best cars I can. There's no doubt, but realistically, I care less about the driving aspect. I care more about the competing aspect. And as long as the competition is there, then that's what fuels the fire. So it's I always told my father, and I didn't think he'd take it seriously, but I said, I'll race a lawnmower if I have to. And we're getting closer.
Yeah, no doubt. There's just no grass growing through these racetracks. Nelson, thanks for stopping by and hanging with us, and look forward to watching you next season.
Thank you, guys, and hopefully see a lot more of you.
Right on. Nelson Mason, maybe we'll see him in a sprint car one of these days, Adam. I know it's something they've been talking about for a while, so it'd be great to get him over there. And you got to love the attitude. Oh, yeah, it's our home track. It's only 8-9 hours away from home.
Yeah. I like his swagger, though, right? You can just sense it from some people.
Well, I like to say you got to have it to be a good race car driver. You got to know it, right?
I think so.
Two of Ontario's best there. Let's take a shout out to Kevin Miller, because it was coming up, Kevin. Kevin Miller did his annual race auction this year. Look him up on Facebook. They've got all kinds of great items for sale that the race teams and racers around here have donated, from new apparel and T-shirts and hats to used up race car parts and authentic crash parts. So check it out. Look up Kevin Miller on Facebook. You can find him there, or from Kevin Miller Photography, and get in on the charity. I think they're over $1,500 in the first day, which is great. Just jump on Facebook, throw in your bid, and pick up a souvenir. Help out charity here locally. Burger Barn videos of the week before we fight. I don't know what we got to fight about. We got a couple things. This is Spencer the Wizard has a tough, busy work week. So we tried not to inundate him, but buddy, I could have sent in 50 Burger Barn videos of the week this week. I think we got maybe 5 or 6 of them. I don't know what order you got them. Just run them, Spencer, but we need to stop them after each one because we're probably going to have to talk about each one. Roll it. Christmas time. Let's unwrap something. Okay, pause it. This is Derek Lynch. Okay, up in the community where he's from. Of course, they have the porta potty business. He dresses the Grinch for the parade up there. Run it. So Derek Lynch and his business Blue Lou were part of the Christmas parade in their hometown. There's Derek as the Grinch. What a great setup for the Christmas parade.
That's fabulous.
Collecting donations.
Merry Christmas from the Grinch and the Blue Lou.
All right, cool. The other one I meant to show, and I just remembered, is Lane Zardo drove the clown car in his town parade too. We're gonna have to get that footage on here next week. Anything you want to say about that? Good to see Derek jumping in. What a great little thing they did there for their parade.
Yeah, that's fantastic. No, some videos, they speak for themselves.
We need a Blue Lou race. I like it. Run it, Spence. So this is F1. Adam, you said this. This is the booth.
Stand outside. We've got plenty to show you in the Sky Sports F1 commentary box, and we haven't got long before we're on air. So first things first, this is Gareth. Gareth is our sound supervisor. He sets the whole commentary box up, and if anything goes wrong, Gareth fixes it. This is Anthony Davidson. You'll hear him in co-coms today for practice, but also at race control on race day. And race control sits over here, where Ant's got a load of onboard monitors and the weather radar and all the team radio he needs to give us more of an insight. We've got a camera in the commentary box here. We use that not just to record us when we're doing pieces to camera, but also so I can communicate with everyone back in the gallery. They're in London, and I can talk to them on our little panel here. I can talk to the director and the producer and our director's assistant. I can also talk to Anthony or Martin and our third co-commentator, and I can talk to whoever's on race control, all via this panel, which we also use for broadcasting as well. So that's the communication, and sometimes it's just a thumbs up because I haven't got time to talk. We've got all our monitors in front of us here. That's the screen that we commentate off on the race. This is our transmission on Sky Sports F1. These two pages here are driver trackers, a GPS tracker that shows us where every driver is on the track, and these two bottom ones are timing pages, as is this and this, which is very important because that's all the steward's information and the weather information too. And the weather information is crucial, and it's telling us at the moment we're about 8 degrees cooler track temperature than we were for FP1. Now, let me draw your attention to these. These are our charts that we have on the wall. All the drivers' podiums, wins, their last win. We have their last 20 races. We have their past performance in Abu Dhabi, their performance in qualifying. We've got everything we need to give you the information, because I can't remember it all because my brain sometimes gets a bit confused. These are the notes that I prepare in advance, normally from about a Monday onwards, and I'll sit down and write them all. So all the drivers and the teams on one and the track map on the other, with a few stats that we need, including this race being won from pole position for the last 8 races. And talking of this race, we've got a practice session to get ready for now. FP2 is amongst us. There's Max Verstappen. I better do some talking. Well, welcome everybody.
Yeah.
It is FP2. The season is nearly over.
Awesome.
2 more practice.
What a great job they do touring around the world. Craziness.
First off, I did not send that. Spencer, confirm in our ears. You sent that, correct, Spencer?
Okay.
Clinton, watching that video gave me anxiety.
Why?
There's 17 screens, 130 buttons to push. I'm comfortable with an on-off switch.
I will give you that.
Not.
But I would say if anybody sat in the chair that you and Greg sit in weekly, you'd be overwhelmed. Not quite that much, but you guys have a lot of input coming your way too.
It's different.
It's not quite that crazy, but yeah.
No, totally. Like watching what he had to work with, very cool, but it is a lot. Like that's...
See, I think as an announcer like me who doesn't, and I shouldn't even admit this, doesn't do a lot of note-taking, okay? We're kind of reactionary in my role. I would love to have all that info coming at me because there's always something to talk about. You know, I tend to struggle when we get a lull there and you're like, what are we going to talk about now? I think, is the booth at Big O sticky? I feel like the food gets spilled in there. That's a good question. I'm not allowed in there anymore. Doug kicked me out, and Darren keeps his foot at the door, so I can't tell you.
It's funny you say that, though, Clinton. I was at an event today that Daniel Bois was at, and we were talking about announcing, and he announced one time, and he felt that he really struggled with it. But Daniel Bois is a really smart dude, and I think that's part of the problem. You don't meet a lot of smart commentators. What we do requires you to not think. If you have to think about it, the moment is passed half a lap ago, right? Like you're always you
don't get a lot of calculation time.
No. I think that's why I like it. It's why I gave up writing, because it takes too long and you got to proofread. I like live talking because you don't get a chance to go back and say, "Oh, I wish I had done this." No, too late. On to the next. Don't.
No,
think,
John, I got
speak.
kicked out of the booth. I'm allowed in the tech shed. Our drone is not allowed in the tech shed anymore. Man, having Abby fly around Carmen's, whew, make me nervous.
Here's the trouble with Clint in the booth. So, Greg and I and Darren have a bit of a ritual every Friday. In fact, practice will be on the track and we're kind of watching, but the track changes so much you don't learn a lot from practice. So really what we're doing is sharing Instagram memes and laughing uncontrollably. So Clint, who puts his game face on Wednesday for Friday night. So by the time Friday rolls around, He's like, stone face, don't make me smile because it might break. We're crying, laughing so hard because we just like to relax before the show starts. So Clint will come into the tower stressing over 100 different things, and all we're doing is laughing at whatever the latest meme was that we looked at. It just doesn't jive well, so it's best that he doesn't come to the tower.
My favorite inside story was one of my first years as manager, and half the wiring went out on the grandstand fence speakers at the Nationals. And I had to climb up on the ladder, and I remember coming up to you guys and said, look it, I'm climbing up on a ladder. And not one damn squirrel joke hanging on a wire. If you guys say one word about me up there fixing shit, I'm going to come back up here. Just pretend that you don't see me up there, because I could just see me up there sweating my ass off. You guys cracking jokes as I'm trying to splice wires together. It wouldn't have been good. All right, that was
the trouble.
Go ahead.
It's what we do though, right? And we try to be respectful. Like when you lay down the law and say, don't joke about this. The trouble is, it's all we do. So it's tough when we're not allowed.
I'm okay laughing about it after, like when I forgot that I needed the trailer at the Speedway this year. But we weren't allowed to laugh at that at 4:30. But at 5:30, when everything was back on track, we could laugh about it a lot. Man, we had some fun this summer. Oh, no wonder I got to wear a hat. My hair's all gray. Let's see what else we got in the can here. Oh, this is last chance qualifying spot for the snowball, Adam. Maybe we need to hear this one with the audio, Spencer. Okay. So this is two of the big dogs getting together, right, Adam? I'm trying to think who
Carson
it was.
Hocevar and what was it, Sammy Smith?
Yes. So, roll it again, Spencer. They just got into each other. They were both, I believe, in qualified spots, just digging so hard. And right here, 14 gets loose. And I just felt the inside car, Smith, just drove him up the track. Like, just let him connect, let him correct, and you're both going to be all right. Roll it one more time, Spence. Give me your thoughts, Adam. So 14 gets loose.
My thoughts, yeah. The car on the outside bears a lot of responsibility at Five Flags in particular. Because normally, and we saw it during the race, if you watched any of the snowball or the snowflake, coming off of turn 2, sometimes you'd see a driver pinch somebody into the wall. Well, you're in the driver's seat when you pinch someone into the wall from the inside to the outside. It is not true when you're on the outside pinching someone into the inside wall. And I thought the coverage was fantastic this weekend. I thought the announcers were really good. Like, I really enjoyed the coverage. But the one thing I didn't like was the call of Stephen Nasse and Bubba Pollard crashing. Because they kept saying, oh, this is 50-50, 50-50. Bullshit. If you're the car on the outside, you shut the door once and make contact. Okay, you've kind of made your point. Car's there. The second time he came down, Stephen Nasse, to squeeze Bubba Pollard into the inside wall, you just screwed yourself. Because when you squeeze someone into the inside wall, the only reaction is for them to bounce off the inside wall into you. So it was not a 50-50.
Which crosses you across their nose.
Yeah, either way, it's going to end badly for you. So I didn't think that was 50-50 in the least. I thought that was a really dumb decision by Stephen Nasse at that point. Like, it was far from a done deal, but Bubba had the line at that spot, either fight him off, and we saw Ty Majeski do a great job racing on the outside groove lap after lap after lap. But I just thought, as good as they were at explaining what was going on, and as I say, they showed a lot of insight and explained things, I thought that was piss poor. That is not 50-50.
Yeah, I can agree with
that. He did touch the wall, John. The second time. The first time he didn't touch the wall. The second time, he pinched him off and he hit the wall.
Roll the next one, Spencer. Oh. I'm not sure what happened there.
I made it that quick, and it doesn't have a AC decal on it, and so that's what the infraction is. So we're going to start at the tail end of the last chance.
Okay, so this is a driver who got disqualified.
Fast race car. Yep.
But this point that he comes back right here.
You know the problem with racing is there's too many people that's worried about little shit like that, and instead of working on their stuff and making it better.
So the driver was disqualified, Adam, and they had a rear deck lid. And on the super late models, it's like literally like, I don't know, a couple feet long by 8-10 inches wide, maybe off 5 feet, but flat piece of metal that covers the gap between your fenders. It doesn't really do a lot. His was not manufactured by an official body manufacturer. It was a home piece cut of tin, and they threw him out for that. Which, okay, if the rules say it has to be manufactured, I can understand it. His point at the end was, you have all these complainers in racing who go and point out something like that instead of working on their car. What's your thoughts on it, Adam?
When I first saw that, I thought, yeah, he's absolutely right. But there is no part on any of those race cars that gets put on by accident, not in that race. And I don't know if it's true, but Preston Peltier, from what I hear, has worked with some pretty advanced race teams. So if he put a piece, there's a ton of speed to be found on deck lids, hoods, roofs. Everything matters. And people kept making the point, well, did it fit the template? Even NASCAR, with its 300-point template, has teams manipulating things to get through it. So nothing happens by accident. So he's right. Maybe the tech people didn't catch him. Maybe one of his competitors caught him. But nothing got put on that car by accident, and nobody put something on their car if it's not going to make some sort of a difference. That's my opinion. Roll
the next one, Spence. This could be just fun ones now.
A full nut on the lugs.
Classic leading.
No, it's tight now. We got the spacer off.
So this is being Super Dirt Week. For those of you who don't hear us talk or hear us talk about Syracuse Mile, this is Canada Joe leading, going for 10 grand at the halfway point. Watch this.
Won at Dundee, Weedsport, and at Canandaigua this year. One of only 3 drivers, Danny Harris and Bob McCready, the other 2 to have done that. Kozik's leading right now. He's only got about another lap or so to go before he gets $10,000. Joe Murata with the call.
We're in the 99th lap right now, and Joe Plezik works up there in the number 2 corner. Danny Johnson chases him in turn number 2. This is a very, very rich lap. PNC Food Markets and Philip Morris sponsoring this lap for $10,000. And it looks like the number 1 of Joe Plezik is going to win that $10,000 as he comes out of turn number 4 and coming. Plezik is in trouble. Plezik is running out of gas. Danny Johnson goes to the outside. Danny Johnson wins the $10,000, Andy.
Whew. Oh my God, how, Joe? How?
Eesh. Those were the worst looking modifieds in history. That was an era. That's awesome.
My Dirt Motorsports shirt from when I started Schweeken. That's what the official would have had on in the picture there. I got one for Spencer. I'm going to send you a picture, Spencer. Actually, Kyle Tomaski sent me this today, and it's actually me in this sweater in that shirt from '99. Throw it up, Spencer. I just sent it to you on Facebook when you get it. But yeah, what an era that was. What a crowd at the mile, Adam. Oh my goodness. I wish we could turn back time and go back to the mile. Roll that picture when you can, Spence. There's me in the shirt from '99. Thanks, Kyle Tomaski, for constantly sending back the the history shots. We love it. We got 2 more Burger Barn videos of the week. Let's see what we got, Spencer. Okay, some more AI-powered cars. Watch this video.
The vehicles are guided by a magnetic wire in the street and have their own motor and controller. They receive signals over the air from the base station about acceleration, lights, turn signals, and so on. My vehicles are self-constructed, and for one build I need between 8 and 10 hours. The material costs are around €150 per vehicle. I recently equipped the vehicle with wireless charging, so they now can drive to the charging station and recharge themselves.
How wild is that?
What do you do with your free time?
Man, I see the shit you send me, so don't give me that crap. Okay? At least the stuff I'm watching can be aired on this program with the family.
Yeah.
Okay? These are toys that have gone through the roof. Hey, we all had a mini car city. How is it? What's that, Spencer? Never mind. All right, we got one more.
Oh,
and
dear.
I'm not sure which one this is, but roll it, Spencer. Oh, this is hill climb. Watch these guys at it. Do you think this thing is going to drive up this hill? Just watch these. These guys are animals.
Wow.
Just let it go for a minute, though. Some of them are unreal. How crazy is that? Like,
That's
drive
pretty
straight
awesome.
up the side of a cliff.
I wonder what the onboard looks like. Like
Oh,
from the
yeah.
driver's
That's good,
view.
Spencer. Wow.
That was a
Did
good
you see
find.
that? He drove right beside that sheer cliff, I tell you. It's crazy.
Oh, well done.
All right. That was a fun little segment. I like that. Keep the videos coming. If you got anything motor related you want us to show on here, we'd be happy to show it or discuss it. Schedules are out, Adam. What's the rush? Everybody's got a rush on to get the schedules out. I'm shocked. It used to be March here in Ontario. Everybody's got a big push on to get it out there. I can tell you, Weekend, that you'd be lucky if you get it by New Year's. We got so many things still in the works. We are in no rush.
So, what is the advantage? Obviously, someone wants to get their schedules out. So the Vintage Modifieds have put theirs out. The Ontario Pro Challenge, NASCAR Canada has its schedule out for next year. On some levels, I think great. You know, especially NASCAR Canada, they're out there trying to find hundreds of thousands of dollars in sponsorship. So I would say, yeah, they need to have their schedules out there. They need to know what's going on. But at a grassroots level, it was often wait until Performance World, wait until Motorama.
Yeah.
That's when all the schedules come out, and you're going to know where you're going to be that summer. So what is the advantage, disadvantage, Clint?
Well, I think from us at Oshrika with our major events, when you're doing Monday, Tuesday events like we did in the past, or Thursday like we're going to be doing this year, you know, to let people book their holidays is certainly an advantage. But I don't know, I see so many Saturday night, Friday night regular tracks racing at their schedule. I know we work so well with all the other tracks that if I put out a schedule right now for Mush Weekend, we would definitely be stepping on other people's plans, you know, as we get down through it. I think at least with the Ush Weekend side of things, how I build the schedule is, you know, we'll start with our cornerstone. We know when we're starting. We know when the Nationals are going to be to end. Then we figure out our big dates, our NASCAR, our potential other major events. You know, can we get High Limit? Can we get World of Outlaws? What's up with SRX? Obviously, the hot topic this week. So all those types of things. You know, once we put those into place, then we color in the rest of the Fridays, and then from there, then we're working with touring divisions, bringing, hey, what works with the sports and what works with the late models. When does Schrader want to come race his UMP? Those types of things. So, I don't know. We're still a fair bit away from the Ush Weekend side. But I guess that leads us into the last item, which is SRX, World of Outlaws, and High Limit. So, 2 out of those 3 schedules have come out this week. Ush Weekend was not on them. Even though they had TBA on them, I took one last shot at Brad Sweet, and he said he couldn't make that work. And it came to me why. So, World of Outlaws and High Limit are no. The border is the issue. If you had any kind of trouble in your life, you're not going to get into Canada from the States. They will end up losing people. And I think if one of the tours commits to Canada, right now all these drivers are out committing one way or the other, whether they're going to be Outlaw or High Limit. If your crew can't make it to Canada for whatever reason, you're automatically going to commit to the other team, let's say, and they can't have that right now. So I think for the first year or two until they get settled out and their kind of sprint car battle or power struggle gets settled, I think we're going to be left out in the woods here. With SRX, So, it came out on this show last week that we were the Canadian track. We still are the Canadian track. Our meeting with the television networks here in Canada are still, we made our pitch, so we're waiting to hear back. They know the time is of the essence, so hopefully within a week or so we hear whether there'll be a Canadian TV partner. We can bring SRX in or not. They are not bluffing. They do have other tracks in play. The minute the deal either happens or falls through, they will be making an action one way or the other. So the push I thought was PRI, but it's not. The push is really to try and get out a couple weeks before Christmas if we're going to make this happen so we can sell some tickets for Dad's stocking. That's all the update I got for you today, bud.
That's all. We did have the one picture we were going to argue about, but we can put that off until another time. That's splitting hairs.
All right. Well, I think that was a good show. I want to appreciate our buddies that came out. Once again, reminder, we'll be on Sunday night at 8 p.m. If you want to get live and interactive with us like we do every week. Tuesday will be re-aired in our regular time slots. Anything else?
In coming weeks, we can look forward to Max McLaughlin. We can look forward to Kyle Steckley. We're going to have some great stuff. So the off-season carries on, but Clinton, I've been really impressed with mostly what you've been able to come up with for guests. But I think we're close to 50-50. You set the whole rundown. But it's been a good... It's been a good off-season. We've had some...
We have talked to Max twice, right? So tonight he was, testing at Millbridge, you said? And so we will be working on getting Max McLaughlin. Anybody else who wants to talk to, let us know. We'll work on it.
Max McLaughlin ties in really, really well with the Trayon Laich, Kyle Steckley conversation that we've been having in terms of the what's next. What's he doing right now and the what's next and where are they going and how do you get there in terms of different opportunities coming their way and what have they amounted to and what might it lead to ultimately. So I think it'll be really interesting to talk with him and should be fun for our viewers.
Yeah, and Robbie Longboat, Campground Robbie, keeps talking about Thomas Meserol. He's got us an inside scoop. We have not pulled it out yet, but Chili Bowl time is coming, and that's when we'll be talking to Thomas Meserol about the midgets and how that's coming up, and that's only a few weeks away. So watch for Team Mez to grace our screens here in the next coming weeks. Thanks, everybody, for all you do. Thanks, Spencer. Thanks, Adam. We appreciate everybody for stopping by. Nelson Mason, Trayon Laich, and all you fine folks. We appreciate hanging out with you here in the off-season. Show 202 out.